live coming in on Tuesday night. We're going to discuss week 3. We got Anthony Miller in the house. How's it going, Anthony?
It's great to be back on the show, Matt. It feels like forever. I mean, I was on the show last year with you, and I think we were talking about how Arlington is struggling, and we're going to have the same conversation again, I guess, this year.
I'm glad we got the Arlington guy. You're definitely going to be able to break it down for us.
Yeah.
You were at the game last week, correct?
I was, yes.
Cool.
I was.
How was that experience? I haven't been there this season yet.
The first game was really good. It was a very good atmosphere. I think it was the best crowd that I think they've had since 2020. So that first game with Birmingham, there was a lot of energy to it. I think there's a lot of excitement, a lot of the unknown on, what are we going to see with the team and with the new UFL. But that was a great experience. Obviously, last week we'd like to see a little more people come into the game, but still really good energy from the crowd that was there. I think it was like 8,400 that ended up being there. There was still good energy to it, and I mean the people came out to probably one of the best games of the season.
Yeah, it was a good, and you really got to see Arlington kind of click on it as an offense, in my opinion. They really haven't opened it up like they did week 3. I mean, I felt like they could go toe to toe with whoever during that portion.
Yeah, that was their best offensive performance probably since the playoffs last year.
No
that
doubt.
was that was the most complete performance from the offense, and that's what makes that loss so disappointing. Was that Luis Perez probably had one of his best games since he's been in spring football. Tyler Vaughn's had a career day for him. He had his first 100-yard receiving day as a professional football player. Devion Smith finally broke through, had a nice game, 63 yards on the ground. Letty Brown ran the ball well. It just overall that the offense played well. It was just unfortunately when they were called upon towards the end of the game to try to run out the clock and do what needs to be done. It didn't happen. They had that really bad drop on third down that resulted in, DC getting the ball back and giving them plenty of time to, have that miraculous comeback with 10 points or 11 points within 54 seconds.
Yeah, let's talk about it a little bit more in just a second. I'm going to pull up some data and stuff, but in terms of you, man, you've had a lot of stuff going on since we talked last. You guys, the whole structure of what I knew when we talked last has changed. Can you tell us more about that for people that aren't familiar?
Yeah. So currently I am working with Fan Nation Sports Illustrated. I'm covering the UFL and the CFL for them, as well as working for a college football network, just basically covering college football. So, I felt like I didn't have enough on my plate, so I wanted to just go ahead and just pile on a couple more things on it. But no, the experience has been great with Sports Illustrated. I mean, it's been a lifelong dream of mine. I used to have subscriptions to Sports Illustrated delivered to my house every week, except for the swimsuit edition. My parents always intercepted that one, but
Dad had to get that one.
Yeah, of course. But I love Sports Illustrated. It's been a lifelong dream, and to write for them and to do what I love, to be able to have the combination of working for Sports Illustrated as well as them buying into covering other football leagues like the UFL and CFL and seeing, the kind of traffic that we can get with it. That's kind of the awesome thing, is how much spring football is growing here in America and how much American interest there is in the Canadian Football League as well. So it's really going to make, not only covering the UFL has been awesome this year with them, but I'm really excited about when the CFL kicks off in June and we're able to get that season rocking and rolling. So it's been a wonderful experience working with Sports Illustrated, college football network I've been writing for since I think I joined like last August, and covering the college football season with them has been awesome, and been really busy lately working on transfer portal stuff. So just keeping myself busy here.
Yeah, you're very busy, man. I see stuff from CFL, UFL, college. I see a lot of different things coming out your way, and it's all solid work. So, I mean, it's good stuff, man. Seriously.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I've seen articles from you before. I asked you like, "Hey, are you covering this team now?" And you're like, "No, I'm just writing it up, telling you what's going on." I'm like, well, I can respect that 100%.
I mean, I love what you guys are doing. I mean, bringing the Alternative Football Network brand, the way you guys have grown it over, what have you had that less than a year? You guys,
yeah, man.
doing that. I mean, that's awesome to see.
I
I
appreciate
love
it.
seeing absolutely. I love seeing the work you guys are doing and giving these alternative football leagues the proper coverage they need. I think it's awesome.
Yes, sir. Definitely trying. My goal was with this first year to not spread myself too thin. So really trying to hone in on the UFL. But
Yeah.
once CFL comes around, definitely hoping to do some coverage on that as close as possible as I can. Because I mean, I've never followed that league even as a fan, so it'll be a whole new experience for me as well. I'm pretty excited about that though.
Yeah, you'll love it. It's a different brand of football, but it's I would say probably a little more fast paced and a different type of strategy to it. So it's an awesome experience watching
yeah,
CFL. So I think you'll enjoy it.
no doubt. Even the rules. I mean, learning the new rules. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's
Yep.
pretty neat. I want to see it in action now. So
Yep.
hopefully, my goal is to try to make it to Canada to see a game. I don't know how that'll happen, but we'll see how it all works out.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to go to the Grey Cup this year and cover it for Sports Illustrated. So we'll see if my schedule lines up for that.
Yeah, that's a pretty big event, right? I mean, how many people do you think are there for the Grey Cut typically?
Oh, I'm trying to think. I think last year I just wrote an article on it, but I think they had like for the whole it's a whole week. Like it's not just the game. Like they have events going on during the week. And I think last year in Hamilton, they I think had like 400,000 plus or something. It was like one of the biggest Canadian events of the year. So
Wee.
yeah, it's not only do you have the game, but they had Green Day come out and perform. I think Carrie Underwood performed as well there. Like they've gotten some really good talent to come out for the Grey Cup. It's really become an experience. I mean, they've had the Grey Cups for over 100 plus years. So I mean,
Wow.
it's while it's hockey is still ruling supreme in Canada, like there's still some very Canada's very loyal to the CFL, and I think that's why we really haven't seen NFL expansion. Like I think have been anticipating is going to happen is because Canada is just so loyal to the CFL.
Yeah, you can see it, and like the guys that I have, the CFC, the Canadian Football Countdown, they're
Mm-hmm.
in with the network, and I've had a lot of discussions with them, watched their shows, so that's kind of how I've got involved a little bit because they're doing the
Yep.
work for me. I'm just having to go listen for the info now, so it's pretty cool.
Yep. Yep.
But Anthony, it's great to have you, man. I appreciate you. Lots of changes y'all's way, but man, it's good to see your thing, the Fan Nation, Sports Illustrated. It's good to see it all still being a success. You guys have done a good job getting your name out there as well, spreading that brand awareness. I know I've seen your social media following go up a lot, over a few months. So I think you guys are
I
all doing a fabulous job.
I appreciate it. I will say having Mike Mitchell on, I mean that dude is a legend. I mean
No doubt.
he's a big reason why I joined Fan Nation Sports Illustrated. He had recommended me to Art Garcia, who brought me in. So I mean I've been I've been writing Mike's coattail for since 2019, and he's a big reason why like I'm the writer that I am and that I do the type of coverage I do. So I owe a lot to him, and then obviously Art Garcia, who's the main editor and the who runs the site for the UFL and the CFL. So I appreciate them for bringing me on, and that's why I put in the type of work I do, because when you have people like that believe in you and having a mentor like Mike, it makes me want to work my tail off every day to get on their level and give the type of coverage that these leagues deserve.
Yes, sir. I'm right there with you, man. And I can't imagine working with them in the same capacity. So it's got to be an honor, and I know you got to amp your work up a little bit working with these type of guys as well. You got to. It's a whole nother level.
No, I mean especially Mike's been covering spring football for 20 plus years. I mean, he was with the XFL back in 2001, covering that league for XFL board. That's now UFL board. And, Art's covering, the Texas Rangers as well. Like these are guys that have been in the front line. So for someone like me, that's, I've been in broadcasting, whether it's news or sports since 2016, but I've only been involved in the sports side since 2019. Like I've kind of had to work my way up, and I look up to guys like that have been in it, they're established, and just still trying to reach their level. But I know with Mike's in his own he's got his own pedestal. Like I'm never gonna reach that one, but as long as I can be there to be there for the ride, that's good enough for me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Hoping to get him on again soon on the show, but I know, man. It's just like I've had you guys on. I've had you on what 2 times last year. I think I had him on
Yeah.
4 times. I try not to bug y'all. I really want you, I want it to be like just, hey, do you want to come on? I don't want it to be like, hey, every week, hey, come on my show, come on my show. So appreciate the
I'm.
time.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can call me anytime, man.
I
I'll hop
definitely
on
will, man.
anytime.
Because there's points and there's times where like it's like I would like to do a pop-up show, maybe 20-minute long discussion, but it's a lot of planning involved, a lot of things going, so it doesn't ever happen. So all that stuff would
Yeah.
be awesome.
Life happens. So.
I always say real life comes first. That's my
Yep.
motto.
Yep.
But anyway, man, let's get on to some game breakdowns. I've got Brady Ray sitting in the background waiting on his breakdown of Memphis Showboats at Birmingham Stallions. We'll have a couple more contributors coming on discussing the other games as well. Still waiting for them to pop in, though, so we'll see what happens. But Anthony, it's good to have you. Just wanted to see if you would like to break down this DC Defenders game. Tell us more about it since you were on the front lines. I mean, DC Defenders took it home 29-28 against the Arlington Renegades. Tough fight.
It was a lot of mixed emotions on this one. I mean, this was a great game. I mean, it was once again second straight week we saw a team be able to convert the 4th and 12 onside and basically score double-digit points within a minute to win a game. So, I mean, major kudos to DC because offensively, I don't think they particularly had a great game. I mean, they struggled running the football. I didn't feel like Jordan Teamu, I thought, had one of his weakest games. I just don't think he was very accurate with the football. I mean, Arlington did a good job of getting pressure on him at moments, but he just didn't really seem like himself. It was a very odd experience to see how he played. But it was frustrating too because I think Arlington had one of their best offensive performances that I've seen in since I've been covering this team in 2020. I mean, Luis Perez had a great game, almost 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. I think there were a lot of moments too that I think Luis Perez, missed on throws. I think it continues to be a problem that he doesn't have the strongest arm, so he missed a couple of deep balls that he could have converted on for big yards or a touchdown. He probably had at least 2 to 3 passes that probably should have been intercepted by CC. So I do think he got lucky at moments in this game, but I thought overall he played really well. Like I said earlier, Tyler Vaughn's had a great game for him. That it was his best professional performance of his career, over 100 yards, receiving on 9 catches and a touchdown. He performed really well. The running game, I think Letty Brown needs to get more carries because he brings a different dynamic to that offense from Devion Smith. Devion Smith's the type of guy, like I always say this, like he's a guaranteed 2 to 3 yards a carry because he's going to pound it in the middle of the hole. He is going to get those tough yards that maybe most backs won't get. But Letty Brown could do a lot when it comes down to catching the ball on swing passes, screen passes. He's got a little more speed than Devion Smith had, but big credit to Devion Smith for having his best game of the season, 63 yards rushing for him. So I thought he performed really well. Like overall, offensively, this is a team that had over 400 yards of offense. DC had under 300 yards of offense, and somehow DC came out and won. And I really think the big reason for that is one, Arlington penalties. I mean, penalties are going to kill you every time. I think they had like 75 yards of penalty yards, and they had penalties at really bad moments, like late in the first half, late in the second half. They had key penalties that knocked them knocked them out of field goal range late in the first half. They could have had points there. They weren't able to convert on it. They had a penalty that set them up with a field goal late in the in the fourth quarter. Um, there was, on that last drive with DC, they had I think the roughing the passing penalty on Jordan Teamu, and then they had Deron Lowe had an interception go right through his hands and into the hands of the DC defenders. They end up getting a big, I think like a 15, 20-yard gain on a pass. So there was a lot of mental mistakes, and that falls on the defense. I think this defense has not played as well as they did last year. Defense was a strength to this team. I really do think this year it's become the weakness. It's kind of flip-flop where I think the offense is playing really well, but the defense is not been at the level they are. I think a lot of it has to do with the secondary. I think not having Will Hill there, not having Joe Powell there. I think those guys, not having those guys have been a big loss for them because you're starting to notice in the secondary they don't press up. They're not really as aggressive as you would like to see from those, or they can be sometimes too aggressive and completely whiff on plays. So, I would love to see the secondary play a lot better. I like to see the defense, be more consistent. But I will say overall, like this is so tough because, Coach Stoops every week in the press conference is always talking about this team looks better than how they are. Like they truly are better than their record. Like I know they're 0-3, but I think they can take Memphis. I think they can take most of the USFL teams outside of Birmingham. Like I really do think this team is still the fifth or probably the fifth or sixth best team in this league. It's just unfortunately they had a juggernaut of a beginning of the year playing the Birmingham Stallions, playing the St. Louis Battlehawks, and playing the DC Defenders. They just had really bad luck with it. Luckily, they're getting into the easier part of their schedule now. Like honestly, if they lose to Houston this weekend, you can go ahead and wrap it and call it.
Yeah, that's a long season.
There's no way they should lose to the Roughnecks. Like no. They're overall offense, defensive, special teams just way more talented than they are. But I mean, it's kind of a weird feeling because I feel like at 0-3, I still feel like Arlington has a chance to make the playoffs. Like this is still a really good football team. I still think overall they have the talent to do it. And Coach Stoops has always been saying that at the press conferences, like, statistically, we're a really good team. They're just not closing out games. And that's the most frustrating part. They didn't close out against St. Louis and they didn't close out last week against DC. If they could just figure out how to close games and win it, then that's going to solve their problems. But they have to be more disciplined. I mean, they cannot make the mistakes that they are making. They make a lot of critical penalties at the end of games that's hurting them. So if they can clean up on the penalties, be more disciplined, then I think this team will be in good shape.
Yeah, I agree with you on that as well. And that defense, man, it was rough watching it. Tiamu just basically did what he wanted in terms of rushing. He led the defenders with 55 yards of rushing during that game. And I mean, a lot of it was him scattered, in my opinion. I mean, he just took his legs and ran. So they get some of that cleaned up. And I don't know, man. It's like they played the Stallions. Imagine Martinez when the Stallions versus Arlington. That would have been a different game than Matt Corral. So I'm hoping we see some improvements on that D, man. Seriously.
I mean, you bring up a great point. That was their problem in week 1 also against Birmingham is that if it wasn't for Adrian Martinez getting injured, he probably would have ran over 100 yards on them because he already had I think he had 40, 50 yards rushing before he left late in that first half with the ankle injury.
Yep.
So, I mean, him and Matt Corral were having their way. And that's a big problem is that they're not putting QB spies on these quarterbacks and they're letting them run all over the place. So that's a good point. I wish, they defensively, they have to be more strategic in how they're going about it. And, Reed Sinnett can run the ball too. So they're going to need to make sure that they're keeping Reed Sinnett in the pocket because they've been letting these mobile quarterbacks run all over them and they can't afford to do that because it is tearing them apart because they have this run right here. Like there's no one there. There's no one in the middle. The linebackers are backed out in coverage. Like every time you do that, Jordan's going to take that run every single time because it's just wide open.
Yeah, DeMarcus is one of our contributors. He said, I put that on coaching. The defense repeatedly shows that they're not situationally aware. And I mean, I could see that as well. And you could see that from week 1, week 2, that he hit real big on the piece he did, the middle of the field. We're not defending the middle of the field. We're not defending the middle. I mean, it's still the same thing. It's very, very, very similar as weeks 1 and 2. Weeks 1 was worse, in my opinion.
Which is very odd because Jay Hayes was the play caller last year for the defense. And he called really good games. I mean, there were so many games where last year we were like, where is the offense? Because the defense is carrying the load for this team. And it just feels like, and the big problem last year with the offense was Jonathan Hayes was not calling great games. Like the first half of the season, he wasn't really calling great games until Luis Perez came. And then all of a sudden he was calling really good games. And it's just kind of flip-flop this year where it's like the defense is not really calling what they need to. Like, here late in the game, like they have corners that are backed up 10, 15 yards. Like you're giving Anders Deron Lowe missing, the interception, but they gave the receivers like 10, 15 yards of cushion with under a minute to go late in the game. Like you gotta press up a little bit more. You can't give them those easy yards underneath. And I think that's been really a main problem all season for this team, through 3 weeks.
Yeah, they won it on the 4th and 12. I mean, that seconds left. DC pulled it off. And it has a lot of people questioning the 4th and 12 now as if it's too easy. And we had a question or comment from Van. Van said, should 4th and 15 be revisited during the offseason?
I mean, it was 1-for-1 last year in the XFL. It's been 2-for-2 this year. I mean, it shouldn't be that easy. It's just if you look at all those 4th and 12 plays, I will say last week or 2 weeks ago when San Antonio converted the 4th and 12, they got right on that line. I mean, it was just exactly at 12 yards. So I think
Yeah.
they got very lucky. They almost didn't get that, but I think the problem is again, defenses are just giving too much room for the receivers to catch. They're too worried about getting blown over the top and for a big play when really they should be defending the 12 yards. Like the corners have got to press up a little bit more, and you got to get some help from the safeties to cover that. So I I I think it's defenses need to adjust to a 4th and 12. I don't know if it's something they're practicing during the week, but I really think it is something they should be practicing is preparing for that 4th and 12. They're going to pass the football. That they probably will go with some kind of in route or slant route to try to hit that 12, 13 yards, or try to go to the sidelines for 12 to 15 yards. So you already know what you need to cover. You just need to be I just think the defenses need to be more prepared for it. So I think it will get defenses moving forward, practicing a lot more during the week on being prepared for moments like that. But it's really on defensive play calling. Like they got to do better secondary wise. But should they revisit it? Maybe. I mean, it may have to be 15, 20 yards before they can do it. But I feel like with 20 yards, you're almost you don't want to make it impossible, but you're heading into the range of onside kicks in the NFL are like less than 10% being able to get it. And I think we're getting, if you push it 20 yards or more, then you're getting to that point where you're not really making it realistic to make it.
I mean, I think it's exciting. And I don't see the wrong in it because it's fulfilled its purpose yet. Where we've seen teams like San Antonio last week, they had the opportunity to do it and they chose not to. They chose to kick off instead there at the end of the game. And so people are using it adequately. It's not being used just willy-nilly. Hey, 4th and 12, let's go. That's why I think it's appropriate.
Oh, I love it. I think it brings a different wrinkle to the game, and I think it does give the offenses a better chance of getting the ball back. I think it's will we ever see it in the NFL? I mean, it feels like they're really some teams are trying to push it, but I feel like the NFL probably thinks that might be a little too gimmicky. But then again, they took the XFL kickoff, so they could potentially do it in the future. I think it does bring more excitement. It brings a different strategy to how you're closing out games. Because now you're making it that's the great part about the UFL is that you can have a double digit lead and game's not over. Like for now, because I was feeling too comfortable at the end of that DC Arlington game where I thought the game was over. No more. I will never ever go through a UFL game where it's a 10-12 point game and I think the game's over. I'm be like, nope, they can still change.
San Antonio did that for me week 2. Yeah, week 2. They changed my mind very quickly on the field as I watched. So I'm right there with you, man. I feel like it's different than last year. Last year, watching these games, I could kind of call what was going on and envision what was happening. Now, we're just playing football, man. It's on.
Look, there's a gift and a curse to a merger. The curse is you're losing 8 teams. The gift is you're getting teams that are very competitive. I mean, even you can say what you want about Houston, they still have really good players on that defense, and they still like Reed Sinnett still played really well. Like all the teams have talent, and I think that's what makes this league so great this year is that the talent level is. Excuse me. I honestly think it's the best it has maybe ever been since the USFL back in the 80s. Like I really think this matches up to what the talent level was for the 2020 XFL season.
Yeah.
Like there are teams that are really good and really competitive from top to bottom. I know Houston and Arlington are winless, but they're still really good football teams that has the ability to win games. So I think that's what's making this season different than it has been in the past. And I think that's why the league is probably happy what they've seen, and it's showing in the ratings that they're performing better because the on-field talent is better than it has been in a long time.
Yeah. I mean, I'm enjoying it. And if people are actually watching these games, they got to be getting into it as well. Most of them have not been runaway wins. We've gone to the final seconds of every game almost. So that's why it's growing and it looks well. I mean, in terms of in person, how did that 8,411 people look in terms of attendance?
I mean, I can't lie. The beginning of the game, it didn't look great. I
Oh, I
mean,
saw it on TV. It did not look great. I know, I
yeah,
agree.
it took a little bit. I think as the game went on, like around the second quarter, I was like, okay, it's starting to look a little bit better. But at the beginning of that game, I was like, there's no way there's even 5,000 fans here right now. And I'm really trying not to be critical, but it's like the eye test really shows that it just wasn't great. And it's very odd because Arlington is one of those places since 2020 where it's never been the highest attended games, but it's never been the lowest. It's always been right in the middle. It's always been like number 4, number 5. So to see them get under, it's the first time they've ever been under 10,000. They've never been under 10,000. Even the Friday night game where Taylor Swift was in town last year, they still were able to put 10, 11,000 people in the seats. So it was surprising to see that, but problem is the team is 0-3 and they're not winning games. So, they got to get back on track and, pick up some wins. If they can pick it up here late in the season, then they'll start getting more people to those games, especially their last home game of the year is against the St. Louis Battlehawks. And I'm sure that's, if playoff opportunities are on the line for Arlington, there's going to be a lot of fans at that game. And I think they can get back to hitting, 12 to 15,000.
Yes, sir. Now let's talk about the TV ratings real quick. 534,000 average TV viewers on ESPN. This was the lowest game viewed this week. Maybe you can provide more of a context to this, but I mean, in terms of my opinions, I still think this is good. I don't think this is a bad sign, but that's me.
Look, I think there's 2 lessons to this that I think the league hopefully can learn from. One, stop playing games at 11, 12 o'clock. It's too early.
Yep.
I understand why they're doing it. They're trying not to compete with other sporting events and stuff like that. I totally get it. It's okay to compete with others. I mean, that if Sunday showed anything, is that you can put games up on ABC and still be very competitive, towards the Masters and stuff like that, and still get over 1 million viewers. Like you can still compete. No, you're not. I think the reality of the situation is this is a league that's, they probably want to hit 2-3 million. They're not going to. I mean, it's just a reality. The league's goal should be to average 1 million viewers a game. At least when it's on the national networks and when it's on Fox or ABC, they should shoot for 1 million a game. But, you're playing a game Saturday in Arlington. It was, I was at the stadium ready to go at noon, or it was like an 11, 12 o'clock kickoff. Like I think that has played that plays a part in the attendance numbers as well. Is, people don't want to tailgate at 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. Like, they want to, it's a Saturday morning. They want to sleep in. So I think I really hope the league next year will be more realistic with the timing and play games that, I guess earliest you can start is maybe 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then always have a primetime game. You should always have a game at 7 o'clock.
Agreed.
No matter who you're competing against, no matter if it's March Madness or something, you need to play games at 7 o'clock. You will be competitive no matter what. Will you always get 1 million viewers? Maybe not, but you're always going to get at least 800,000-900,000, which should be a good number. And 2, I'm gonna say this: you cannot play games on ESPN. You cannot play games on ESPN2. This weekend with Houston and Arlington, they're going to be on FS1. I'm telling you right now, those numbers are not going to be good, especially with 2 0-3 teams. If they can hit 500,000, that is a massive win for the league. I am fully expecting that to be 300,000-400,000 viewers. That is not going to be a very viewed game.
And that's the only game on Sunday as well.
Yeah, and then we can talk about the Saturday games as well.
We'll get there. I promise.
But I will say the league, if they want to be successful and they really want to kill in the ratings, every game has to be on Fox or ABC. Or if they need to find another network, maybe bring back NBC, let them get in the game. CBS hasn't been in the game until, since the Alliance of American Football in 2019. Maybe you want to call them in, but every game should be on national television, especially if we want to win the ratings battle. You got to be on it, because otherwise, if you have games on ESPN, ESPN2, FS1, the reality is it ain't going to be high. So I agree with you. I think 534,000 for when the time the game was played to what network it was on, I think that's pretty good. I don't think it's great. The XFL in 2020, we're able to still hit 1 million viewers on ESPN, but it's a different world now. So 534,000, yeah, you take it as a win.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we're talking about a different time of the year as well, and that's an argument that many can make. And I'm not. I try to just be the guy, representing all sides here. And it's a weird time of year for a lot of people, a lot of adults with children, especially. They got sports they're going to and doing things. And so we'll see, but, I'm hopeful, and I'm not very hopeful for this next week though. And like I said, we'll talk about that more in just a second.
Yeah.
The regionals are going to hurt us for sure. No doubt about it.
Yep.
But in other news, is there anything else on this game in Arlington you want to cover before I roll on to the next one?
I'm just going to say, I know people are going to want to poo-poo on the Arlington Renegades right now, but if I had to do, I'm not Mike Mitchell and do the power rankings for us, but if I had to do power rankings, I still think this is the 5th or 6th best team in this league. And that might be a controversial comment to make, but I still, and maybe it's a little bit of bias since I've been covering this team for 4 or 5 years, but I still think Arlington is better than what their record shows.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you as well, and I wouldn't say the same thing about Houston confidently, but I would say that about Arlington. I feel like they've got some potential to spread them wings and fly. We'll see what happens. After last year, I really don't doubt anything that they do either, though, because last year we were kind of having the same conversation at this point. I mean, regarding the Renegades, wondering what are they doing, what's happening, and then bam, just took off.
Difference is this year, though, if they go 4 and 6, they're definitely not making the playoffs because the playoff system is different. So
yes, sir, I agree with you on that.
They need to win out, or at least go 6 and 4 if they want any shot of making it.
Yes, sir. Good thing is the XFL conference, everybody's got a loss now, so it knocks it down a little bit, makes it even. All right, let's get Brady Ray in here. Brady, what's going on, man?
How's it going, Matthew?
Very good. I hope you're going to help us break down this Memphis Showboats at the Birmingham Stallions game. Memphis was brought down 14-33. I mean, it was a defensive and offensive game for those Stallions. They looked good, man. They looked real good. And right now, looking at this team, personally, I don't know who can beat them. We will see, but they're looking very good.
I'm glad you said it because I didn't want to sound cocky, but no, they. I mean, I looked on the UFL website, and they are league leader in multiple positions, multiple categories. The biggest thing for me though was the attendance. I think me and you talked about we were pretty scared about Birmingham's attendance, and I want to say we had 12,000 plus for during literally the same day as the Alabama A-Day game, which I don't know if it was sold out, but by pictures, it looked packed out.
Yeah, it looked busy for sure.
So very impressed with that. Adrian Martinez gets the nod for this game, and I was very weary of him because he's erratic. He runs like there's no tomorrow, and to back up the week 1 stat of what his rushing yards, he had 52 off of 3 carries, so that's 17, almost 17 and a half per carry. So his feet are clearly his best weapon. But then this week he comes out with an 18 for 28, 300 plus yards, showcasing just he's got the all around ability to be the quarterback, QB1. Honestly,
yeah,
he impressed me. That's good for Matt Corral though. It's good. It's healthy competition to me. You got Deion Kane once again, 7 receptions, 144. Just a consistent guy for us. Sternberger in person, mainly Sternberger. I want to talk about the goofy gimme catch he had in the end zone. That was absolutely insane. But other than that, that man consistently targets. He's going to catch it.
Yeah.
Defensively, though, to me is the real winner. Points allowed through 3 games, 36. And the closest team to that is the Panthers with 51, which, I mean, that's only, 15, but still, we've consistently just been in and out week 1, week 2, and week 3, just the better team. But DC is the one I was very curious about when I wrote the article months ago. They did only lose 1 game last year, so that's this will be the biggest test, I think, for Birmingham. And given it's going to be another home game with another big event that taking place in Alabama, Talladega is going to be there all weekend. So,
Gotcha.
going to be interesting to see if we can match 12,000 again, or if we'll be a little under.
I plan on being there for that game. We'll see what happens. Haven't got the approval yet, but making the plans.
Right.
So I know I've been following Memphis pretty closely the past 2 weeks, and I've been seeing Case Cookus, man. He's taking some hits the past few weeks, but this last game, I mean, he was sacked a lot, 11 times. That's a lot of sacks.
Yeah. And like I don't know the exact number, but like the Birmingham's tackle for loss, I think we have the same amount of tackles for loss as the league leader, but the amount of yards we have tackled for is like double what the person in second place is. But Cookus held him under 200, and he took that big shot right there. Can't remember which quarter it was, but he took a huge shot, which I think in turn put Troy Williams in.
Yeah, I believe it was before the half. I can't remember correctly though.
Yeah, no, I mean I can see it in my brain. He got nailed.
Yeah.
And like what's crazy, I considered him to be one of the better quarterbacks, and it's not so much on his play, it's so much as the defense is that good. Defense.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go. No, you go.
I was gonna say when I misspoke earlier. Cookus has been sacked 11 times all season.
Right.
Last night they sacked him a lot, or last week they sacked him a lot as well with 8. So 8 sacks, which is still almost 11. It's not that much different.
Dude, the front seven, I mean, it speaks to the camaraderie. Like I said a couple weeks ago, these guys have been together, some of them quite a long time. They're just, to me, the most cohesive unit of the entire league right now. That can change drastically, though, too, because we haven't suffered major injuries. We've still got DC to play, which I keep bringing that up. But DC, I think, once they get things turning, I think that could be a very deadly team. You still have Jordan Tiamu, and to me, that's all you really need.
We'll see this week, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Van Hurst said Case had 3 major injuries between college and pro. Yeah, when week 2, after the game, we were in the press conference, and I asked him straight up, is this sustainable? Are you going to be able to keep taking these kind of hits? And he said, hey, I'm a football player. This is what I do. So I guess he's got it. He's not too worried about it.
I mean, I like the moxie. I like the courage. But I don't know. And it's not like he ran into any of these hits. This was just pure defense that popped him.
Yeah,
it's not like he's a terrible quarterback scrambling for his life, can't make a read. Like, he's very talented quarterback, and I've been impressed with Memphis so far to start the year. So, the first half wasn't even. It finished 18-12, something like that. So, I mean, they played a great first half. Second half, Birmingham's defense just really showed up, stopped them.
Yeah, they did. It was a pretty good game that first half. That second half, they just ran away with it.
Mm-hmm. And I think, go ahead.
We had 12,265 in attendance and 837,000 average TV viewers on Fox. So that was a successful night for the Stallions.
Yes, no, by and large. I didn't even give them having 10,000, to be honest with you.
Same.
I really thought it was. Sadly, I shouldn't have but I thought it was going to be like the lowest attendance out of all the teams, to be honest, and all the home openers.
Well, it's just we get camera angles, and we don't truly know how each stadium is set up in terms of spots available, how they're seating people. So I mean, I that's kind of how I base it off of. We can see something and it look promising, but really in person it's a little different. That's I don't know. It was like judging from the San Antonio game. I thought there were more people there as well, but it was on the lighter side. So
right. I mean, they're good with the TV.
Anthony, what do you think about the TV numbers here, man?
Those are solid numbers. I think especially how it compares to what the USFL was doing last year on Fox. We've all kind of talked about last year how NBC was kind of the superior network over Fox when it came down to ratings. It always felt like NBC was beating Fox in the numbers. So I mean, those are solid numbers. Especially for a Saturday night, again, competing with a lot of sporting events, with the NBA and the NHL, closing in on the playoffs. With that, for them, there was a lot of games that had playoff implications. So really good to see those numbers. Also, the Masters being on. So overall, those are good numbers. I want to see Fox still improve because I still think at the end of the day, you look at the numbers ABC has been putting up, even last year and this year versus Fox. ABC was doing better than Fox in the ratings. So it feels like the league has really leaned into Fox, as I think over 50% of the games are going to be on Fox this year. So they really need the Fox to step up and have good ratings. So I think 837,000 is pretty good. I still wanted to see it do better. Like I said earlier, when it comes down to TV networks, like if you're going to put it on Fox or ABC, those games need to be 1 million viewers a game. They should always be able to shoot for hitting 1 million each game. So I don't think this is bad, but I'd like to see the numbers keep going up as the year goes on.
Yes, sir. Same here. I personally really enjoy these Fox productions, though. The way they interview players, the way they're recording, and then interacting with people. I think it's such a better product than that ESPN. Now, I think ABC is good as well. I'm not going to take anything from them, but you can tell a huge difference when you watch an ESPN game compared to the other two.
I think the atmosphere of a game is just different on Fox versus ABC. I mean, look, I think a lot of it has to do with the commentary, which, I don't blame ESPN. I like the fact that they're bringing in, new talent and bringing in different talent that they would in a bigger game. I think it's really good. Like Sam Acho, I really like him. I think he does a really good job. Tom Lukenbill, he's been a part of the XFL even back in 2001. So like he knows these leagues. So I love those guys. I think they do a really good job. But when you have Kurt Menefee and Joe Klatt and Brock Hewitt, Mark Sanchez, and Kevin Kluger, those are significant names in the NFL. So
Those
I agree.
We all know them.
Yeah. Like Fox is, I don't want to say way superior to ESPN and how the broadcasting is, but it's a much different feel for Fox versus ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. Now I kind of feel like how the USFL fans felt last year. While they liked it better, it resonates with me as well. Not being a fan and just appreciating what's going on it gives me a different viewpoint than what last year, where I was actually kind of repping a team. So Brady, anything else you want to cover on this game before we move on?
Not anything in particular. I think I touched on everything I wanted to.
Sounds good, dude. I appreciate you coming on and giving your breakdown, man. Look forward to seeing your work as we go.
Yeah, anytime and always, brother.
Yes, sir. You the man, Brady. Overtime Underdog. Check him out, guys. Facebook and Twitter. Thank Brady.
You, guys.
All right.
So, Matt, you want me to break some news on here?
Yeah, let's do it.
So the UFL announced their transactions just now. Morgan Ellison, running back, just signed with the San Antonio Brahmas.
Oh, gonna give those Brahma fans a little happiness. That makes me excited as well. Let me pull it up real quick.
Yeah, he got he's also placed on the inactive list, so I don't know if he's going to be active this week, but it looks like he is now a Brahma. And then Carlo Kemp for the Houston Roughnecks looks like he is on the retired list, which I think Ace had reported that. I think he reported that earlier today that he was gonna probably retire. That he had to step away.
With injuries, I'm guessing.
Possibly. I think it was personal reasons or something like that. But Bradley Moore McKinney, I know he got hurt in the Renegades game. I think he left, I want to say second quarter. Looks like he's on injured reserve. But I think the big name here is Morgan Ellison. I was very surprised that he was not able to make it as far on the Renegades as he did. So
Same.
I think that's a really big pickup for San Antonio. Honestly, that's probably the one weak point for the Brahmas. Obviously, besides which the other big news is Chase Garber's pretty much being out for the season. So
Yes, sir.
Ellison will be interesting because, Anthony McFarland's been good for San Antonio, but I don't really feel, and John Lovett's also been pretty good for them, but they haven't really broken out any big runs. So I think the running game is something they definitely need to improve upon. So I'd be interested to see if Morgan Ellison gets used or how he is used in that offense. Because I don't, San Antonio is kind of more of a wide open offense with AJ Smith. So I'm kind of interested to see how they're going to use Morgan Ellison if they do use him.
Yeah, I mean, we got Dormady. He'll be starting there in San Antonio, correct?
Right now, yes, but from what we're hearing is they are going to bring in probably a third quarterback here in the upcoming days. So looks like that they didn't announce anyone, so I'm assuming they haven't signed anyone yet. But they are going to bring somebody in to be the third quarterback. So I'd be interested to see who they bring in. But right now, it's going to be Quentin Dormady, and then Tom Flacco is going to be behind him.
Cool. Yeah, imagine Cody Latimer is about to get a lot more busy. Whatever the Brahmas are doing.
They have the two of them were at the Guardians together last year. They have great chemistry. I mean, Cody Lattimore, I think, was top 3 in the league in receiving.
Yes, sir.
And Quinn Dormady is no slouch. I mean, he threw 10 touchdowns, 5 picks last year with the Guardians. He had one really bad game where he threw like 3 interceptions, but outside of that, I mean, he put on some really good performances for the Guardians. So I know a lot of people are kind of panicking not having Chase Garbers there, but Quinn Dormady is more than capable of starting.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. And I was really looking for him to play once the season kicked up. I'm glad that, he's actually getting his time now.
Yeah.
Waited.
Agreed.
All right, let's bring Mike Bell in. Oh, I wanted to note too, we got White. Zakondre White is back as well on there, and I was surprised when he was let go, but they must be having some rotations there in DC.
Yeah, he was good with the Birmingham Stallions last year, and he's got some breakaway speed ability. So DC is another one where ever since they lost, I'm already spacing out on his name, Abram Smith. Ever since Abram Smith's been out for the year, DC's running game has not been as strong. Harris has been pretty good, but obviously he's not at the level that Abram Smith is. So maybe White will come in there and compete and help him get some yards. But that's a good pickup for DC. I wonder if they're going to play him.
I agree. Keep him off the board, off of someone else's team for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Mike. What's up, man? How you doing tonight?
Hey, Matthew. How you doing? Good to see you, Anthony.
Good to see you, Mike.
I love following your stuff. You were talking earlier about, you get to live your dream, writing for Sports Illustrated. I'm jealous, and I would love to live that dream someday too. So
I appreciate that, man.
I'm a big fan of you.
Thank you.
So, Mike, you were at the game last week. Tell us more about it. Break it down for us. Panthers took it away 34-20 against the Roughnecks.
Yeah.
It started off a pretty good game, and then we quickly saw the Panthers run away with it. Tell us more about it, man.
Absolutely. So I felt like the storyline kind of going into the game, the Houston Roughnecks were coming in at 0-2. And I think all of us football fans, regardless of league, know there's nothing more dangerous than an 0-2 team. They're desperate. You don't want to fall into that 0-3 trap. And this was a game that I felt like could have been really hard for the Panthers, especially talking to Mike Nolan during the week when he was saying it wasn't a must-win game for the Panthers. It was more of just a must-play good. I thought that wasn't the right edge to have going into it. And the storyline for the Panthers was, what is their offensive identity outside of Jake Bates, who everybody knows and loves?
The man.
Yeah. And is outside of a handful of big plays, this offense hasn't gotten rolling. I think they've had really just 2 solid drives for the first 2 weeks. It was important for them to get off on the right foot today. And with the first possession, the Roughnecks just took it all the way down the field. They ran a no-huddle offense. They punched it in for 8. We thought it was really interesting the fact that after that drive, they went totally away from the no-huddle. We asked Coach Johnson about that after the game. He just said that the amount of coverages that Coach Ballard on the defense was mixing in, it was too much to be able to stay in that no-huddle offense. And that kind of just derailed a lot of the momentum that they had going. And then it was just like turnover after turnover after turnover, or I should say penalty after penalty after penalty. And then they just couldn't get rolling. I thought the Michigan did a lot better in the first half, getting started early. They got Jake Bates some closer field goals, closer than 60 yards. So they had a 55-yarder and a 46-yarder. Looks like you got Stallions Panthers highlights going on right now.
That's not my fault, thank God.
Okay.
Wait,
Yeah.
it is. Oh man, hold
Yeah.
on. My bad. Appreciate the call out. Let me go back. Go ahead, keep talking.
Yeah, so the first 2 weeks, the narrative that was kind of surrounding EJ Perry, he's a great quarterback, makes great decisions, but he was forcing the ball, and that kind of bit him, as well as the offensive line wasn't holding up their end of the bargain, and it was kind of leading to some sloppy reads. He couldn't get off his first read, or he would hold the ball too long. I felt like from the very get-go, once he went through his first read and got to his second read, he took that quick glance and then he pulled that ball down and used his legs. We saw how dangerous EJ Perry can be, and that's something that I think will go forward, being a part of their offense, utilizing his legs. He knows he's good at that. If he can get that second read, just pull it down and run it, get some yards. The Stallions do that very well, and I think after getting that kind of a game plan against them, they decided to use some of those attributes. So it was really close going into halftime, and I feel like the game was staying close. Had that big play to Marcus Sims, 66-yarder. That dude is a monster. It feels like watching Calvin Johnson back at Ford Field in a way. He plays like that. He made 3 or 4 defenders miss on that drive. That wasn't even like a bomb like last week. It was like a 10-yard throw, lots of missed tackles, punched it in for the score. And it felt like it was so close. As Anthony kind of touched on this earlier, you're no longer confident in like a double-digit lead. And I felt like that going into the fourth quarter, it was like, man, you kind of really need to be up like 14 points to really feel confident, because that 4th and 12, obviously, it's only been 2 for 2 this year, as Anthony said, and 1 for 1 last year, but it just has that like that hope that you can keep alive. You go down and score, get that onside kick 4th and 12 thing, and go back down and tie it up again. So that was definitely a worry, but the defense came alive. They put a lot of pressure on Reed Sinnott. They sent him into a medical evaluation tent. Breland Speaks came off that play action pass and just whopped him. I didn't know if he was going to come back in the game. And we saw Nolan Henderson for a little bit. And the defense kind of held strong. You got a blocked kick by Kedrick Whitehead Jr. On the punt. And then Levante Taylor almost pulled down an interception. And then Kai Nakua got the interception on the very next play. They set them up nice, and they had some nice drives to get down the field. And they pulled it out 34-20. Jake Bates looked good again. We even heard some MVP chants throughout the game when Jake Bates was coming out there. I thought that was pretty neat. And I think that they found an offensive identity. I asked Coach Nolan after the game, what was his impression of the offensive line, because that left side of the line going into this game was very weak. Ryan Pope got injured early in the game with a left shoulder injury, and they brought in Jared Horst, and I've loved this guy since week 1. I watched him against the Battlehawks take a guy and finish his block straight into the Gatorade coolers. And that guy just has a nonstop motor, and Coach Nolan touched on that and said it's been a part of their plan to get him in the starting lineup, and it just so happened to work out. So great game by the Panthers. One guy I want to point out for the Roughnecks, Isaiah Henney, was an absolute terror. It reminded me a little bit of, Devin Hester. He just that danger of every time you kicked him, he was getting it to, good field position or the other side of the field. Even one of them got to the red zone. I asked Coach Johnson if he was going to have any plans of putting him in the offensive packages, because you got to use a guy like that, especially with that kind of speed and versatility. So going to be an interesting battle of the winless next week with Anthony's Renegades. And I'm looking forward to seeing how the Brahmas do with Quinn Dormady at quarterback.
Yeah, me as well. And I don't know, man. This Houston team is looking rough so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Luckily, Mark Thompson seems like he's coming back this week.
Yes, sir.
So that will help.
Definitely.
Other than that, I mean, it's like penalties all the game. They had so many penalties.
They have a total 26 penalties on the season right now. I don't know who's close to them in terms of the chart, but I didn't go that far into it. They have a league lead in turnovers, which is 5. And Reed had a pretty good game. I mean, he 197 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception.
Yeah, I thought he had a good game too. It just seemed like that pressure. It was even from the interior with Garrett Marino, Walter Palmer. They were all just getting to him. Breland Speaks. He's going to be dreaming about him for a while. So
no doubt.
It was hard to get anything going. It was like as soon as, if they weren't getting all of that heavy pressure, they were having a penalty. If they weren't having those, they were having a turnover. So
discipline is really hurting that team right now, and I hope they can find it.
Yeah. And Coach Johnson seems amazing, and he almost didn't even join the post-game press conference. He was that mad. He was, throwing a few things, but we were happy to have him out there. He has a close relationship with Mike Nolan. So,
did you think? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm not trying to stop you. Thought you were done.
Oh no, was that Anthony?
No, I was going to say, I think the one frustrating part about Michigan is you have Wes Hills and you have Matt Culver, and I wish they can start breaking out soon. I mean, Wes Hills had that good week 1 game, and then since that, they really haven't been able to establish the run outside of EJ Perry. So I'd love to see those two break out, because you have probably 2 of the best running back tandem in the UFL that I just don't really feel like it's breaking out. But I think a lot of teams are struggling to run the football outside of the quarterbacks obviously running in. I mean, obviously we have Adrian Martinez leading the league in rushing. So I love to see those two break out, because, I mean, when Wes Hills can play, man, he's probably the best running back in this league when he breaks loose. So I'd love to see more out of that running game. And yeah, like you were talking about, Mike, I wish I could figure out what's going on with this Michigan team, because when you watch them, you're just like, how is this team 2-1? But
right.
Major credit to EJ Perry. I mean, I had him low on my quarterback ratings the last few weeks. Like I just don't really feel like he's played well, but he played tremendously well against Houston. I will give him a lot of credit. This was a really nice game for him. And, I don't want to chalk it up as him playing against the Houston Roughnecks, because the Houston Roughnecks have good defensive players on that team.
They do.
But I will say I was very impressed with EJ Perry and how he played. I think just keeping it simple for him and not having him, bomb it deep as much and forcing those passes you talk about, Mike, like, the Marcus Sims touchdown, like that was a 5-10 yard completion that ended up going for a touchdown. So yeah, just let your playmakers make the plays, because I think Marcus Sims has been, what a surprise he's been. He's probably been one of the best receivers in this league. So I think you just keep getting it to your playmakers and, let them get the job done. Trey Quinn is always a reliable receiver for them. They have weapons if they can just get in their hands. So major kudos to EJ Perry for the performance he had. That was by far his best game of the season. And, if Michigan can find a way to get those running backs rolling, if they can stay balanced offensively, Michigan can be dangerous, because that defense is so good. I think that defense is top 2, top 3 in this league outside of Birmingham. Like that's such a really good defense. And that was the one thing that I really liked about Michigan going into the season, was their defense, and I absolutely hated their offense. But their offense has been better. They're improving. But I'm still like, man, I look at the Renegades, and I still think Renegades are better than Michigan. But major kudos to Michigan's defense and EJ Perry for their performance. That was a really good win for them. They needed that.
Yeah, and one guy.
Go ahead.
Okay, one guy I want to point out and get some more thoughts from you, Anthony. COC Mariner, came to us from the CFL. I believe he played with Hamilton. I'll have to check that, but he used to play with Jordan Love at Utah State, and he had 2 crucial catches in this game. One was for a 2-point conversion, and then when they were only up 20-14, that drive that was so crucial, he caught a third and long pass that really extended that drive, in which Perry got his league leading 4th touchdown of the season. I did ask Coach Nolan about him after the game, and he said that was something that they weren't seeing in practice, so he was kind of surprised as well. But he said he had a pretty cool story coming from CFL. So I don't know if you have heard of him or.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised he got as much playing time as he did. I wasn't really expecting him because he was just signed like a week or so ago. But
yeah,
he did have that big 25-yard completion, and I mean I know with John Hightower being out, they needed somebody to step up. So good to see him. He's a solid player for them, and again, I think it speaks to the depth of the receiving core. I think that's something Michigan's offense doesn't really get talked about as much as how good the receivers are. You just wish EJ Perry was more consistent because
right.
They have guys like Devin Gray, they have Mariner, they have Quinn. They have really good receivers on that team. They just need to have a quarterback who's more consistent and can get it in their hands because they can make plays. This is a better receiving core than I think they get credit for.
Absolutely. Well said.
Yeah, EJ went 16 for 19, 84%. That was probably the best of the week. I didn't look, but It sounds like it. Ran for 2 scores. He has a league best 4 rushing touchdowns on the year. If anybody would have told me that before the season started, I would have laughed. And now look at us.
It's one of our guys, Brian Gertler, was talking about it. Every time they're in the red zone, it's either a rushing touchdown or an interception. So,
hey, as long as he stays injury free, good to go.
Absolutely.
And let's touch on Jake Bates real quick before we roll out.
Yeah.
5 for 5 so far this season. He's had 3 55-yard kicks, and he's had 3 55 yards and 2 62 yards or roughly 60 plus.
Let's see.
62 and 64.
Yep. And then we had 57, 55, and then 46 is his shortest.
Wow. Man, he is rolling, dude. He's rolling.
And I think it's interesting. I watched him at halftime. He's the only player that stays on the field at halftime. And I don't know if this is like a sneak preview. This is what's in his head, but he's always kicking from the spot where the NFL extra points are.
I think I know what that is.
Yeah. It's like he just wants to be ready but it's interesting to watch him. He never stops. Every single game I've been to, he's out there the entire half. The other kicker isn't until their players come out. So
his story is crazy because it has so many similarities to Brandon Aubrey's. A guy who I think they both played soccer. He didn't really kick much in college. He was just a kickoff specialist, and he was one of the best kickoff specialists in the country. And they have neither one have really any pro experience. I think Jake Bates was in camp with the Houston Texans, I believe, at one point. But it's incredible to see. And honestly, major kudos to all the kickers in this league.
I agree.
The most insane thing has been, in every spring league that we have seen, we would be lucky if we had a kicker who averaged over 80% in field goal makes. I don't think there's a single one that's under 85% in this league. I mean, it's incredible how good the kickers are in this league. Major kudos to them because I'm telling you, the majority of these guys are going to get NFL shots because there's a lot of NFL kickers out there that are not getting the job done and, have been missing it. So these guys are going to get opportunities.
Absolutely. Well said.
52 total kicks this season. There's only been 4 missed.
Wow.
Insane.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're going to be looking at kickers in a whole nother realm here in the UFL. They really do make a difference here, and that's proven time and time again. We see it.
I think the common denominator with these kickers is these are all guys that have strong legs, but maybe have not been consistent accuracy-wise. So we're starting to see that they're actually more accurate than they think we thought they were. But they're knocking in these long field goals, which is really good for the league. This is great publicity for them to have really good kickers that are consistent and can hit these long bombs, because that's how you're going to make headlines, is hitting all these 60-plus yard field goals. So again, major kudos to them. It's awesome to see.
Absolutely. And Jake
Agreed.
Bates had, some people have said, can Jake Bates kick outside? And they posted a video of him nailing a 70-yarder outside in practice. So
he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
No concerns there.
Absolutely.
All right. Before you roll out, Mike, let's talk about the attendance. 6,952 in attendance, 974,000 average TV viewers on ABC. How did attendance feel to you? You've been present for every home game now for the past 3 weeks. Tell me, from your basis, what's it looking like?
It feels like we got our core. It feels like 6,952 is the floor. It's been 3 straight weeks of being booked up against something big in that area. So this week it was the Tigers game in the same time slot. Last week it was the Tigers and the Red Wings in the same time slot. And week 1 it was the Big Ten tournament. So it's just so much. I don't know. I still expect more even with those things. There's some interesting charts out there. It shows like the percentage per capita that we're getting. That makes you feel a little bit better, but it's 5,000 more fans. I mean, it just feels like it should be way easier to do. So I guess I'm glad you brought that up, because I mean, I think Avion Plummer wrote a pretty good article today about building fan trust, and there's just been so much movement with these leagues. Do you guys feel that is a factor in why we aren't seeing better attendance?
I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this at the very end. I hate the hub model, and this is a big reason for it. You need to have these teams practicing. I understand the hub model saving money, but you got to have these teams practicing in their home, their home cities. You need to have them out in the community. I mean, that's the only way fans are going to feel connected. Because right now, I feel so bad for the Michigan Panthers. They have to compete with the Detroit Lions right now. And I'm telling you, and I know how big the Lions are right now just because of their NFC Championship run. So they have to compete with them. I mean, that's a nightmare. And they actually have a decent, like the Panthers, this is probably the best team they've had in the last 2 years that they've been in existence. So this is a massive opportunity for them to get some headlines, but unfortunately they don't have the community to really do it. So this is why they eventually got to get out of Arlington and have these teams in their own cities, and they got to do more marketing. I mean, they got to do more marketing in these cities. They got to have them out in the community. They just did community service work yesterday in Arlington, and that was awesome to see. But unfortunately, it's only going to affect fans that live in Arlington or in the Dallas area. It's not going to really affect what they're doing in Detroit, Michigan. That's not really going to do much for them. So I 100%. But the attendance numbers don't look good, and I'm going to be honest. If those attendance numbers don't get better, I don't really see a reason to have a team there. But I will say again, I doubt they make any changes, because I think 2025 is going to be, the make or break year for this league when it comes down to it. So I think they knew like this year may not be as great as they anticipated. So I love to see these last 2 home games for them do better. I really hope they don't do any worse than that. But from my understanding from, Mike was telling us he heard that, no, this is actually better than what Michigan was doing last year in attendance. So, I mean, if you want to take a positive of it, it seems like they have more fans this year than they did last year. So, I mean, let's give them their credit. They are kind of building something there, but a lot more needs to be done in that community. So I hope eventually they'll move away from the hub, get these teams in their home cities, and then I think that will help with attendance numbers.
Perfectly said.
Yeah, I see that as well. My thing was we rushed so much, especially Michigan. It seemed like it was the most last minute announced in terms of scheduling and tickets. It didn't seem like it mattered much in that and to the league in that. I don't say that disrespectfully, but when season tickets are on sale and single game tickets aren't, and you have a 3-week home game series, you really want to make sure those single game tickets are ready to go. That's a priority.
Absolutely.
So I attribute some of that to that. And then plus thinking, the Lions from 2-3 years ago were almost they're almost like a Washington, NFL team where their fans weren't really big on them. They didn't really have the hype and hoorah. And so I think if we'd have been talking in a different time, this would look different for these Panthers. But since the Lions are on their feet and they're running, man, the fans are hungry for the Lions now. So it's a little different of a market than what it was, I think, thought up to be.
I think we have to make the championship to get people there. I think that will start rallying people there this season. Otherwise, kind of like Mike G saying, it does need a couple seasons to establish the base. So,
yes, sir. Agreed. Anthony, you got anything on it before we close him out?
Hey, let's end this on a positive note. TV rating is really good.
I agree.
To get close to 1 million like that, let's talk about that. That's really impressive for a game that maybe wasn't really the sexiest game of the weekend. Really good ratings to have close to 1 mil. So major kudos there. Again, I think ABC is going to get more ratings than I think Fox, because that's just how the trend has been in the past. So I think those were really good numbers for a game that maybe wasn't considered the best one of the weekend. So major kudos there.
And I heard we're beating the NHL.
Yep.
As a league. So that's amazing.
Yes, sir. We're looking good. I think the TV numbers are promising, and that's why I was saying, we dropped down to 500,000 across the board. I think there's some terms to worry about them, but for the most part, we're averaging out pretty well.
Absolutely, and it's gonna be fun when we get to playoff season, I think, and to have that championship. I think that'll be a blast, especially in the Battle Dome. What a perfect place.
Yes, sir. It should be a good one, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mike, I appreciate you, man. As always, we'll see you next week. Let's talk again.
Sounds good. Appreciate you, Matthew. It was great to see you, Anthony.
Great to see you.
Appreciate you, Mike. Take it easy, man.
All right, you guys take care.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye. So Rig Rockers, he's a super fan. They've been traveling around following the Roughnecks, and he said the only way the average fans will get excited is by having these players out in their community interacting with them. And I agree. It makes a huge difference.
1,000% agree. That's the only way this thing is really going to work. I mean, that's what makes, like, you look at like indoor football league and stuff like that. Like, that's what makes those like arena leagues work, is that they focus so much on what's going on in their local communities and being out there and, having affordable prices for family, and that, like, they may not get like 10,000+ fans at their games, and they may not make millions of dollars, but that type of stuff really makes a difference in them having consistent fan base and be able to be profitable and be able to stay sustainable as teams for years to come. Like here in Frisco, like that team, no, it does help they play really well, but they have they're out there in the community all the time doing great things. So, I mean, that's what the UFL needs to focus on.
Agreed. And that's what we loved about the 2020 XFL. I loved about it. We saw that buy-in in those communities, especially places like St. Louis, where before the season was going, man, there were people just ready to rock. And you kind of don't forget that. The vibes pre-season were very different than what they were now.
For sure. Agreed.
All right. Last but not least, we got RJ coming to the party. RJ, man, sorry to keep you. This has been a discussion tonight. How's it going your way?
Yeah, doing good. How you doing?
Very good, very good. So
Excellent.
You were in attendance for San Antonio.
Yes, sir.
How did it go, man? Give us a little breakdown on it.
Well, I mean, other than the loss, I thought the game was good. I know they announced the attendance was only like 11,000, but it did seem to be much, much larger than that. I thought the crowd was pretty wild. But as far as the game goes, I mean, you look at the statistics, and it was so close. Just statistically speaking, it looked like the Brahmas should have won the game. Yardage, we beat them in yardage. We beat them in the pass yards. They did have the edge in rushing yards. Penalties have always been a bad problem for us so far this year, and we cleaned that up significantly. Only had one penalty, so I thought that was a major key to this game. Where we lacked in this game, we seem to do a lot of dinking and dunking in this game. You look at the stats here, the average play was only 3.7 yards per play.
Shoo.
I mean, it was a lot of at the scrimmage plays, a lot of behind the scrimmage. screen passes. It was just not a lot of downfield action that we have seen in the past. And I think that's where the big problem for the team was. It was just not a lot of down the field passes. Um, we did get to AJ McCarron a couple times. We did get 2 sacks, but other than that, we really didn't seem to pressure him a lot. He did seem to have a lot of time in the pocket and was able to move around and find open receivers. There's this one play, like you saw there in the highlight there. That play happened over and over and over again, and it just seemed to work for St. Louis so many times. And how can you leave Hakeem Butler wide open like they did? I mean, that guy, I don't know why he's not in the NFL. I mean, that guy's is a beast. And we left him open too many times. I thought that was a pretty bad. And as far as our offensive line goes, now Chase Garbers did not get sacked one time, which is good, but he did seem to be running around quite a bit. They did pressure him quite significantly. So I thought the Battle of the Trenches definitely went the Battlehawks way. They seemed to take away a lot of our stunt plays. They had a lot of pressure on our quarterback, and they did seem to protect AG a lot better than we did. And then the other thing I would notice was the red zone. Our red zone defense so far this year, we did not allow a single touchdown in the red zone. Then St. Louis came by and they were 2 for 2 in the red zone, while we were 3 for 5. We were perfect in the red zone offensively, but we just couldn't punch it in those couple times. And that was the big difference, I think, right there. And yeah, that play right there, wide open, Hakeem Butler. He just can't do that. And now we see that Chase Garbers was injured. They're saying that it was possibly that late hit out of bounds. That's what caused the injury. But give credit to him. He stuck in the game whenever that injury happened. He stuck in there and completed the game. So got to give him, tip our hats off to him. Maybe that was reason why there was a lot of short passes, is that maybe he was injured earlier than what they thought, and he just didn't have a good grip on the ball. So it was a lot of like short passes. But yeah, there was something off about him on that game. Just too many short passes. And now we just saw on the transaction page that Greg Island, another one of our offensive linemen, is out and possibly going to be out for the rest of the season. And that's after losing Alex Millette for possibly the rest of the season as well too. And man, we just got hit by the injury bug, and it's just biting us over and over and over. And it's just kind of we're losing players left and right. And it kind of got me a little concerned about that.
Yeah, I don't blame you for being concerned, man. Especially when you're starting QB, you're told is out on IR. We don't know the for sure injury. We don't know for sure, how long it's going to take him to recoup. But 5 weeks at least is a long time to lose your starting QB.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the good thing is that we do have Quentin Dormany. He is definitely a more than adequate backup quarterback. I mean, most of us fans probably thought that he was going to be the QB1 going into the season. And when Chase was named the starter, a lot of us were kind of shocked. I mean, I thought Quentin was going to be the hands down starter. So now that he is going to be the starter, I have absolute confidence that you're not going to see much difference in our offense between Chase and Quentin. I think the offense is going to continue to click as it was before. I don't think there's going to be a significant drop in quality of play. And now that he's teamed up with Cody Latimer, I heard you guys mention earlier that they had chemistry when they were with the Guardians last year. So I think that's going to be a really, really a key aspect, is that you have a security blanket like Cody Latimer that you can rely on to bail you out in situations until he kind of gets warmed up and kind of knock that rust off and get back into game flow. So that is going to be a key point in his success.
Agreed.
I think one difference too that I think is really going to help this Brahmas offense is I think Quinn Dormany has a stronger arm than Chase Garbers has. I think that was the big knock with Garbers, is that he didn't have that strong of an arm, but he was really accurate with the football. I think Quinn Dormany has a stronger arm than him, so that might actually open up the offense a little bit more to get guys like John Shea Kirkland, who is a deep threat, be able to bomb it deep to him, or Stevenson or Latimer. So I think that will open up the offense a little bit. But you were just RJ, you were just talking about the injuries. Like it really is disappointing to see how many injuries the Brahmas have had. But I will say, major kudos to them on their depth. I think Wade Phillips deserves a lot of credit for the roster he has built. He had the most impossible job of anybody in this league to build a roster basically from scratch. And he has done such a phenomenal job of putting that roster together. And I think he has a lot of depth to that team that I think San Antonio can still be competitive. I don't know without Garbers if they can maybe hit that 7-8 win number, like maybe they could have. I think this is a team that looks like they could hit 5-6 wins and stay competitive in the XFL conference. I think the only challenge they'll have is DC. I don't know if Arlington is good. I think they'll be competitive, but I think San Antonio will get at least one game on them. So I really think it's just going to be depending on how they play against DC. But again, major kudos to Wade Phillips for the depth that he has built with this roster, because they're fighting through like the secondary. How many injuries have they taken in that secondary? And they're still, they've got
plenty men ready.
Yeah, I mean, I think the secondary now maybe struggles with making those open field tackles, but they're still solid in coverage. Like this is still a pretty good secondary. So I will say, even with all these injuries happening, San Antonio should stay competitive throughout the season.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I still think of course, I'm drinking the Brahma Kool-Aid, so I'm thinking we're still going to go 8-8. Well, no, I think we're going to go 9-1. Yeah, this will be the only loss of the season. So
I like it. That's
bold. That is bold.
We saw Cody Latimer. He had 7 receptions week 3. And then we had John Trey Kirkland with 8. So both of these guys are utilized, and the Cody Latimer only finished with a total of 58 yards, with John Trey Kirkland had 52 yards. So I think both of them will be very busy with Mr. Dormady once he approaches the field. There's a lot of things that these guys can do and get downfield that people cannot keep up.
I mean, I would like to see our running game improve. I think the running game has been lacking so far. And it did seem like we were running the ball pretty effectively at points in the game, and they just kind of got away from it for some reason. And yeah, all year long, our running game has not been as impressive as I would like it to be. And I think we really need to get that ball rolling. But boy, I don't know if we can do that against the Motor City Kitties up there, because they got a pretty good defense. So that's going to be a tough task for us there.
And like Anthony was saying earlier, that's what's happening season round. I mean, that's everybody's struggling to get the run going. It's not just you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing because Anthony McFarland, I mean, he's a former 4th-round pick, and he's had some nice runs for San Antonio. Yeah. Like you can see, like he's an NFL caliber running back, but he has just not been able to really open up. And that's why I'm interested, like with Morgan Ellison now in the picture, like, is he going to start getting some carries? Is he going to get in the rotation? Because McFarland and John Lovett, those are both good running backs. I mean, those are starting caliber running backs for most of the teams in this league. And for them not to be able to open up, I'm interested to see if Morgan Ellison starts getting some carries too for them, and see if he can open it up, because he was fantastic with the Sea Dragons last year before his injury.
Right.
And I may be wrong in this, but Morgan Ellison was utilized in the passing attack as well, right? I mean, do I remember that correctly?
Somewhat. Yeah, somewhat, but I think his strength is running the ball, and I think that's Anthony McFarland's strength is in the passing game.
Understood.
So being able to get him in the passing game, I think that's why he, even if he's not running the ball as well, I mean he's still making some catches out of the backfield. I think that's they want to use him for that, because John Lovett is not the guy who's going to be, catching 2-3 passes a game. He's the one that's going to be, running the ball and getting those tough yards.
Yeah, Mike G said he broke his hand or broke his wrist. Was it hand or wrist?
So I think Mike Mitchell said, and we were talking about this last night, he believes that it's in the third quarter he took a light hit on the roughing the passer penalty on him, and I think that's where he got injured. That's what we believe. I don't know if that's 100% when he got hurt, but I think that's when he had injured. So I think we originally thought he was running out of bounds late in the game, and I think he took a hit. But I actually think we think it was sooner than that. We think it was the roughing the passer penalty in the third quarter is where he hurt his wrist.
Gotcha. Yeah, Van Hurst said Mark Lillybridge is the GM in San Antonio. So, I mean, yeah, this is just the Houston Roughnecks staff that moved over to San Antonio. We knew that. Very similar team, but not completely the same as what they were.
Quarterback plays a lot, I think, better this year than it was last year. I mean, Cole McDonald was nice and Brendan Silvers was nice, but they didn't play consistently enough last year, especially when Kirkland got hurt. That Roughnecks team kind of offensively took a little bit of a plunge. So they have more. That's the shameful part about not having Chase Garbers is he was playing really consistently at quarterback, and that's something they needed. But hopefully Quentin Dormany keeps that consistency going for them.
We shall see. Good luck to your Brahmas, RJ. Let me ask you on the attendance. So you're saying it definitely felt like more people, right? I mean,
Oh, yes. I think they said it was 11,000 was the announced attendance, but looking around, I'm sitting up in the Lone Star Club, so I got a nice little bird's eye view right at the 50-yard line, and just looking around, it was a bigger crowd than 11,000. I'm not sure what happened with those numbers. I'm not trying to get any conspiracy theories or anything like that there, but the numbers did look way higher than just 11,790 like you have up there on the screen.
Now I got it fixed.
Looks much bigger than that.
I gave you Ford Field's numbers.
But yeah, I definitely thought the crowd was bigger than that. Yeah, it looked much bigger.
So you had 100. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say San Antonio is, I think, probably this. I mean, if Birmingham can figure it out, they really should be better than when they're at. But I think San Antonio's atmosphere, like when I went to the championship game last year, like watching the game in the Alamo Dome, it's a really good atmosphere. So I think the Brahma fans are it's probably tied between second and third strongest crowd in a game outside of St. Louis. But I mean, it looked good on TV. It sounded loud there. So I mean, I agree. Even just if it's under 12,000, like that 11,790, they came out. I mean, they definitely came out, and it felt like a really good atmosphere on television.
Mm-hmm. And I know we were competing against the Spurs. The Spurs had their very last game of the season at the same time, so that could have played a factor in maybe the low attendance. But yeah, I still think it was more than 11,000.
So the game one, there was 13,000. I mean, judging from that, do you feel like there was more for this game than game one? You were present.
Well, actually, I think there was more than we had in game one. Yeah, I think there was. There was not as many big sections of empty seats like there was in the first game. The stands did feel a little bit more filled out.
How about Battlehawk fans? Did you see a lot of them?
Oh, they were there.
They were thick.
Yeah. They showed up and they showed out. So kudos for them for traveling. But yeah, they were definitely there.
1 million average TV viewers on ABC. This was the hit this week, and I'm not surprised with it being the Battlehawks and San Antonio. That's great, and I figured, and I'm happy that we see this million mark here. Makes me very thrilled.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's the number they need to hit for every single time. And this had a lot on the line with it. I mean, with St. Louis and San Antonio, these are two of the best teams in the league. So I think, and the game lived up to the expectations. It was a good game from start to finish. So I think if you're the UFL, you're really happy with not only the ratings but how the game went. This was this was a big win for the league this weekend.
And plus, I think it did help that it was at 2:00 instead of 11:00 in the morning.
Agreed, 100%. That helps.
Yeah, big difference there. Everybody's home. Time to watch football. Turn it on and do it. I mean, RJ, I think you guys have a shot at taking this championship home. Now with the questions that need to be answered, we'll see what happens. But this team looks pretty good, in my opinion, and I look forward to seeing what they do down the road.
Yeah, I think so too. Let's just get that one loss out of the way, get that taste out of our mouth, and now we got the rest this season to recover. I'd rather get our loss now instead of at the end, kind of like with the Defenders. They started off 9-0 or whatever, and then got that loss and floundered in the championship game. So let's get that loss now and get on fire when it counts.
Yes, sir. Agreed with you there. Anything else you want to leave us with before you depart?
I think I'm good. Thank you, Matthew, for having me.
Appreciate you coming on, RJ. Hey, guys, check out RJ. He's pretty consistent on his writings on alternativefootballnetwork.com. Check him out. He's always doing game previews as well as game summaries following the game. So check those out. Good
Thank
work.
you.
Appreciate you, RJ.
Yes, sir. All right.
Until
Horns
next
forward.
time. Horns forward, man. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
All right. So we're wrapping up the game breakdowns. So hour and 30. I'm trying to get under 2 hours. I'm trying.
There's so much to talk. The problem is there's so much to talk about, especially with the season. So
Yeah, the actual football and the attendance and then the TV and it's a lot of data to review, and it's kind of one of those things that sometimes it's subjective, so you got to be kind of hesitant on how you talk about it. So I don't know, but
Yep.
Regardless, appreciate the guys coming on, breaking down the games, and appreciate your breakdown of that Arlington game as well.
yeah, a ton of fun. I appreciate the invite.
Yes, sir. Always. You're always welcome on, Anthony. Seriously.
Well, call me anytime, man. I'm down for it.
Let's jump into a brief review of Week 4's games. Like, we don't have to talk about teams and game plans. Let's just discuss, when and where and who. So Saturday, April 20th, this is our early game. Memphis Showboats at St. Louis Battlehawks. It's 11 a.m. CST, 12 p.m. EST, and it comes on ABC. So this is an early one. What are you feeling about this game, man?
I mean, I feel like this should be an easy St. Louis win. I mean, I feel so bad for Case Cookus. I mean, can we get this guy a good offensive line for once? Because he has just been beaten, battered, and bruised over the last few years that he's been in these spring leagues. I mean, he's really the Andrew Luck of spring football. I mean, this guy is going to take a beating, and he's going to be so banged up when he retires. So, I think St. Louis is, outside of Birmingham, is the most complete team in this league. They just have everything that you want out of a team. Offensively, they're really strong. I'm fascinated to see. I mean, Ja'Cour Pearson went on his Instagram page and made a comment saying he's going to play. So I'm interested to see if he's actually going to be active and playing, because if Pearson plays, oh boy, we are looking at the best offense in this league, and it's about to get really dangerous with the Battlehawks. The one thing I really like about the Battlehawks, they've gotten their running game going. They got Durant and Slayers who have ran the ball really well. I don't know what's going on with Wayne Gallman, but it really seems like I don't know if he's going to ever be active again, just compared to what those two guys with Durant and Slayers have done. So I really like what they've been doing on the running game, especially the last couple of weeks. It seems like they're really getting that going. So if they can keep that consistent, this is the best offense in the league. Memphis, I mean, I want to see them protect Case Cookus. I mean, he can't keep taking the hits that he can. If he keeps taking the hits that he has to, then they're going to have to put in Troy Williams, because Troy Williams is a better runner than he is. But Case Cookus can't be running for his life and just taking all these hits. So if you give that guy time, I mean, Case Cookus is a top 4 quarterback in this league. So it's going to be really important that Memphis protects him, because St. Louis, I mean, they got Travis Feeney, they got Pita, like they have a ton of pass rushers that can get to him. I mean, this has the potential of Case Cookus getting sacked 5 to 6 times again, and they can't have that happen. So I like St. Louis in this game. I think they're going to win. I wouldn't be surprised if it's. I don't want it to be a double-digit game, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is, to be honest.
Yeah, if they're just picking up from last week and taking off again, you can definitely expect some points on that board. I'm curious what the over is on this. I'm not sure. I'm not big on the gambling end of it this year, because that you would think.
Let me pull off DraftKings, because I think it did come out today with the UFL game lines. Let me see what it says.
Last week he completed passes to 8 players, and it says he ran for a 10-yard score. I mean, this dude was on fire, and he was fired up too during the game. You could see him talking and yelling and doing what he needs to do as a quarterback.
Yeah, and I think Memphis really needs a running game too. I mean, they have not been able to run the ball well. I know Trey Williams got cut today from the team. I know they're bringing in a new back. So That'll be interesting to see if that helps them at all. But yeah, they really need to get some help in the running game.
Yep.
Okay, so St. Louis is -7, and that's actually not the biggest margin this week. That's the second largest. But the really fascinating part about the bets this week is the over-unders are much higher than they had been. They were very conservative, sitting at like 40-41. This game is 45.5, so that's at least. I think they're starting to feel more comfortable betting on the over on it. So, not surprised St. Louis is -7. I have them winning this game, and I think it has the potential to be a blowout.
Yeah, agreed. And this is going to be a big one. I'm sure we'll have a lot of fans there in St. Louis.
Yep.
Let's move on. So we got our double header Saturday evening, and this is the Fox regional game at home, guys. So it depends on where you're at, where you're going to watch which game. Now, personally, I'm sure you can tell me more about this, Anthony. I tried to find a regional map. It's not available. I emailed a couple people in the UFL. I haven't got a response back. Just curious, do you know where people can watch this game depending on the area?
So, I mean, we haven't been given a regional map. My assumption is, like, for me living in the Dallas area, we're probably getting the Michigan San Antonio game. I think nationwide, my assumption is nationally, it's probably going to be DC and Birmingham. That would probably be my assumption. My plan for Saturday is I'm probably going to get the Fox Sports app, and I'm going to be probably having to put it on my computer and watching both games at the same time. So, I mean, I know there's a lot of opinions on it. I personally hate it with a passion because I want to watch every game on national television, and I think it really is going to hurt the ratings of these leagues. But, you know, this is something the XFL did it back in 2001. They would simulcast games at the same time, where they would put one on NBC and the other on UPN. So, I mean, it's not something we haven't seen in spring football in the past. I just don't think it's highly recommended to do it. But I am fascinated to see what the ratings are going to end up being for these games. But I mean, my assumption is this DC Birmingham game is probably the one that's going to be on national television. And then I'm sure most of Texas and probably Michigan, the state of Michigan, I'm sure they're going to get the Brahmas Panthers game.
So let me announce the game. I forgot to even do that. We're getting to the 2-hour mark, starting to drag. Saturday, April 20th, the DC Defenders are at Birmingham Stallions. That game starts at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, and it's on Fox. So that's game one on the header. Next up, you have Michigan Panthers at San Antonio Brahmas. That game starts at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, and it's on Fox. So this is what we're talking about here. It's regional. I looked in my area, and I'm getting the DC Birmingham game, in which I'm not surprised because I'm somewhat close to them. So I don't know. I do like the app idea, but see, I went and got YouTube TV just to be able to watch some of these games as it is. So it's tough for me to do any more, you know?
Yeah, I have YouTube TV also, but I'm going to assume I'm getting the San Antonio game. But I mean, what a shame that these are the two games that have to compete against each other. These are probably two of the best games of the weekend. Two games that have 2-1 teams going against each other, and America's only going to be able to see one or the other. So that's a shame. But yeah, I'm probably gonna have to get the Fox Sports app and make sure I'm able to pull up both games because they're both good. I think these could. I don't know if Michigan San Antonio is going to be as good of a game, but especially the DC Birmingham game, that is going to be a fascinating matchup to watch. Well, I guess Birmingham is 3-0. I should correct myself. They're 3-0, but it's all teams with winning records. So it's going to be a really good Saturday night for football.
It's going to be a battle for sure. And it makes me disappointed if I do go in person because now I'll definitely have to catch this later on or record it, I guess.
Yeah, should be both fun games, but I think what will be interesting is how they're going to handle it on the national television, like how they're going to handle it during the games. I assume there's going to be a lot of like cut-ins and like, hey, this is what happened this is what happening in the game. I know like ESPN, when they did the simulcast Monday Night Football games, they would, you know, on occasion pop it up on a small screen and show you the current action going on. So I think we'll probably see a lot of the same with the Fox games.
Mike G said, "Where'd your comment go, Mike G?" He said, "We'll get a good look at what markets are watching / supporting their team." That's true as well.
That's true. I guess we will see who's the stronger fan base between Birmingham, DC, and Michigan and San Antonio. That would be really interesting to see the breakdown regionally from those games.
But let's move on to our last Sunday game. That's on April 21st. That's the Arlington Renegades at Houston Roughnecks. Starts at 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, and it's on FS1. Ooh, somebody's got to win this, right? No ties here.
I mean, look, if you're going to have a game on FS1, I hate to say it, this is probably the game you want on FS1. You don't want two 0-3 teams going at it on, or maybe you do want it because you may have a better chance of getting better ratings. This is going to be the lowest rated game of the season. I'm just telling you right now. Like if this, like I said earlier, if this game hits 500,000, that is a massive win for the league because I doubt there's going to be many people watching this game. It's going to be interesting to see, especially the big story is if Mark Thompson can come back. That's going to be a problem for Arlington because Arlington has not been the best against the run. So I think with Mark Thompson in there, that offense can actually look pretty decent for Houston. I still think Arlington's going to win. I think they should be big favorites to win. But this is a game that it's must win, especially when you have 10 games in a regular season. If you start 0-4, I mean, you're toast. You would have to go on a massive winning streak and just hope that you can get in. So I think whoever loses this game, you can go ahead and, sign your ticket to watching the postseason at home.
Yeah, I'm curious. What is FS1? What's a typical rating there? I tried to Google it. I couldn't find anything legitimate. But
I'm trying to think. I think with the USFL last year, I think they were doing about 300,000 to 400,000.
Gotcha.
So I doubt they're going to hit over 500,000, and that's why I'm saying like if they hit over 500,000, I think if you're the league, you're celebrating that because that is a massive win.
We know collectively we're all the same people watching every game, so you would think it would at least pull that. Hopefully, looking at the past numbers, It just we don't have anything else going as UFL fans that day. It's just the FS1 part that really is tricky as well. If this was ABC or Fox, this is an easy pickup, an easy watch. But with the FS1, it's a little different as well.
Yeah, if this game was on national television, like if it was on ABC or Fox, I could probably see it do 700,000 to 800,000. I think that would be considered a win because unfortunately, this is not a game that's going to really attract people to watch. But on FS1, I mean, my prediction is I probably say maybe does 400,000.
I like it. I'll take it.
That wouldn't be bad. I think 400 wouldn't be bad. 500 would be a massive win.
No, yeah. And I'm curious, too, how the attendance is going to be there in Houston at Rice. It was a little choppy that first game of the season, so hopefully it picks up.
Yeah, I think with less competition, well, you got I think the Houston Rockets are in the play. Are they in the playoffs, I think? I don't.
Ask me. Not.
That's outside
of my boundaries of information.
I mean, unfortunately, they only did like over 9,000 in their first home game. So
91,000 or 9,100, 9,157.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting because Houston was pretty good in the 10s last year. I mean, I think they were doing like 13,000, 14,000 last year. So I think they need to hope if they can get over 10,000, I think that would be a win for a game like this. But I got a feeling it may dip a little bit more with Houston. I can see it. I can see this being 8,000 to 9,000, maybe less than that. That might be too optimistic.
Yeah. I mean, I want to say too, I've been there. I went there that first game, and I mean, the layout. It's an older stadium, but the area surrounding Rice and then the stadium itself, man. I mean, it's got a lot of history. The area is nice. People have a reason to go. It's just getting them there is the hard part.
Yeah, I mean, I went to Houston last year for the division championship game between Houston and Arlington, and I mean, the stadium was great. The atmosphere was awesome, but there was a lot of construction around there. I mean, it seems like they were doing a lot of work on it. So I'm glad that they're not playing in there this year because I mean they need to get through their construction and be done with it, and then it'll be it'll be better when they can get back in there. But I mean, it seems like Rice Stadium, like that area, seems nice. Like
It's a
it
lot
didn't seem
nicer.
bad. Yeah, it didn't seem bad on television. It's
No, it's
just
not.
like to see a lot more fans in there.
Exactly. I agree with you. That TDECU, you were hesitant to walk around at night outside of there. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
At Rice, we were staying close by, and we did everything over in Rice Village, and beautiful, beautiful place. So yeah. Had a comment from Chris Mason. This is a good one. The poop bowl.
That is the most G-rated way of putting it.
Hey, he could have been explicit.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris is always chiming in with some good comments, so gotta highlight him. Appreciate you watching, Chris. Yeah, we'll see what happens with this game, man. I'm saying Renegades right now, but who knows if the Roughnecks can find their identity and get a little more disciplined, and I think they can actually play some football. We just got to see if it happens.
They have really good individual talent. I think that's the frustrating part is their defense is really good. I mean, they have like studs. They have Chris Odom. They have Ruben Foster. Like they have talent on that defense, even offensively. Like I think the shameful part this year is they've not been able to get Justin Hall really going. I mean, he caught a touchdown last week, but I really don't feel like he's really broken out as much as they would like him to be because he was a stud for the Gamblers last year. Yeah. I mean, he was one of the best receivers in the USFL. So I think they would like him to get involved more. It's just unfortunately they have no running game. I mean, TJ Pledger has not been able to really do anything. I mean, that running game has been atrocious the first 3 weeks. So that's why, like, if they can get Mark Thompson back and he can get rolling, with Reed Sinnott, I think that's a really good looking offense that could really open up and really perform well. Like last week, I think was the best offensive performance of the season for Houston, despite the fact that they lost the game. I still think it was I think they look better with Reed Sinnott.
Definitely agree with that wholeheartedly. After watching, for 2 weeks and paying attention closely, moving that ball is crucial, and that he can do it. He can throw it down that field.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I will say defensively they look good. And that defense can't carry them to a win, though. It just can't. They got to have some offense.
Yeah, their offense is not good enough for them to get to that point. I think they can potentially get there, but it's going to take Mark Thompson coming back for that to happen.
Have you heard anything about that? You've seen him hint to it last week that he may be returning last week, and he didn't. And he's done it again this week. So just curious, have you heard anything on your end?
I'm sure there's some hesitancy with putting him back in because they probably don't want to get him hurt, but I think they're at a point now where it's make or break. So I honestly I wouldn't be surprised if this is the week he finally comes back, because if they lose this game, then I mean their season's over. Like yep. I don't think they're going to get into the playoffs. So if they want any shot of making it, he's going to have to play and roll out there. But yeah, so my gut feeling would be he is going to play, and I'm sure he's going to get the ball a lot. They're going to need to get him rolling very quickly. If he sits out this game, I think you can go ahead and chalk it up as a Renegades win.
Agreed. We shall see what happens. Now, in terms of him playing, what we didn't know until Friday, correct? That he wasn't playing. Is that correct?
Yeah, because I think he was included on the injury report.
Yep. But I know they were there was people talking to me on different capacities about how he was returning, and I'm like, I don't know about that, and he didn't. So that's it. No, I believe now at this point he's got to, as you said. There's nothing left.
It definitely feels like they were being conservative with it because they didn't want to risk him getting hurt again. Because he missed a couple games last year with them. So I mean, I hate to say he's injury prone, but he is borderline, like has been banged up a little bit, from last year to this year. So they want to play it safe with him because he is the key weapon offensively.
Yeah, I seen on Twitter he dropped some weight too, so that may be helping him as well stay injury free.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he kept the muscle because he's a strong runner, so you don't want to lose that out of him. But he's also kind of sneaky versatile because he was good in the passing game last year for the Gamblers. So I mean, if he's picked up some speed with that, but kept that muscle to be able to get those hard runs, then that's a scary thought to have him running on your defense.
Hopefully we get to see it. I really want to.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see him play too. I mean, he's a when he plays, I mean that offense is completely different. He's one of the top running backs in this league. So the league, especially not having Abram Smith, it's important to have your top players out there. So they definitely need Mark Thompson to play.
Yes, sir. Agreed. Anthony, that about wraps it up, man. We made it before 2 hours hit. Congratulations.
Yeah, we're at hour 52. Look at that. We got 8 minutes to spare. Nice job.
I appreciate you coming on tonight, man. And I didn't know, did you have plans to go to a game this weekend?
I was originally gonna go, but I have to stay home this weekend because my wife has to go out of town this weekend. So I unfortunately will not be able to go to the Houston game, but obviously I will be covering it from home and taking care of it that way.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you can do the same adequate work there that you do there in person. There's just something about that energy that makes it different in person. You know, the feelings. It's a whole nother vibe. But yeah, hopefully we'll get to meet up at a game this season, man. It'll be awesome.
Yeah, I think I put in credentials for other Houston games, so I'm hoping to. I was trying to get out to San Antonio last week for the Battlehawks, but I didn't get approved for that. So we'll see. I know that's a different process, so hopefully I can get out to Houston at least one time this year for a game.
It's been tough this year compared to last year. Speaking on that, I just the last year was much easier in getting that approval than what it is this year. So I understand.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
But Anthony, man, great talking to you. Check out Anthony's work, guys. I've had it rolling at the bottom of the screen. We pop it up again. It'll be in the show notes as well. Anthony, do you want to plug yourself or anything before you roll out, man?
You can follow me on Twitter @by Anthony Miller. I post all my work there as well as the work we're doing on Fan Nation Sports Illustrated. If you want to check out the current work we're doing, we are currently not on Sports Illustrated. We're technically posting our articles on Athlon Sports right now, just because of there's a weird transition going on with Sports Illustrated, but we're going to be back on Sports Illustrated soon enough. So if you want to check out our work, just look up Fan Nation, Athlon Sports, UFL or CFL. We're posting all of our articles on there, and we'll let you guys know when we're officially back on to Sports Illustrated. But make sure to check out my work. If you want to follow Mike Mitchell, that's @by Mike Mitchell. He's putting up some great work as well. So if you want to check out our CFL or UFL coverage, that's where you'll be. Just make sure to follow us and make sure to check out the work we're doing.
Yes, sir, we will. And I'll make sure to update. I'll put another link in for what the Athlon. I'll find it and get it all set up. So guys, about 3 hours after this, 2 hours, I'll have everything up on the show notes and everywhere. So you can click links and go straight to him and find his work, as well as like Mike Mitchell and the other great people they have writing. I appreciate you greatly, Anthony, man. And it's always a pleasure getting on and having a conversation with you and any of the other guys that you guys are the staples of this spring football media. So appreciate you greatly, dude. Keep doing good work.
No, I mean, you're doing, Matt, the work you're doing, and with the Alternative Sport Football Network. I mean, it's something that alternative sports leagues really need, is more networks like yours. So keep up the great work, and hopefully next time I'm on here, we can talk positively about the Renegades. And
I hope so.
That would be nice.
Championship game again, man.
Hopefully.
Be great.
Hopefully.
We're definitely going to get you on if that happens. No worries. I will definitely contact you.
I will be in hopefully I'll be in St. Louis regardless of if Arlington would be there, but it'd be a lot nicer if they would.
Yes, sir. Agreed. Take it easy, Anthony. Thank you again.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. All right. Appreciate him again for coming on. Always great to talk with an expert spring football analyst, writer, contributor, whatever you want to call him. I mean, he's got a lot of information regarding alternative sports, not only spring football. Check out some of his work. I would follow him on Twitter, probably. That's your best bet. That's about it for me, guys. It's been fun Tuesday, getting out of here before 2 hours hit, so the goal has been met. We'll be back next Tuesday. Not sure the guest yet. We'll see what happens. I'll definitely let you know on social media a day or two prior to the show. Regardless, we'll break down the games, have a discussion, and kind of interact with some comments and questions. So appreciate you listening. If you listen for the whole thing, I appreciate the support if you've been supporting us on the back end, especially those from the very get-go. It's been a long, fun journey and just getting started. So we're going to keep on keeping on and doing our thing. Appreciate the guys for coming on today, the contributors. They always do a good job. I'll have their stuff in the notes. Click and go. You can check them out and interact with these guys. You're welcome to talk to them and message them, and they're good people, I promise. So check that out. Thank you to UFL board and the UFL. I appreciate you both greatly. UFL, I appreciate you letting me cover the league, and UFL board, I appreciate everything you've done since the get-go, getting me going on this whole thing. And still now we partner up, we share content, we do some good work. So appreciate you, Mark and UFL board. Thank you. Guys, I'm excited. We're coming on week 4. We're rolling on along, just cruising. Hopefully we keep getting some good games. And you know, I don't want to see a team just totally dominate the league all year, but it is nice to see a team clicking and rolling like the Stallions are right now. So keep doing your thing, Stallions. We're watching. I think that's it. Guys, if you need anything from me, reach out anytime. I will try to respond, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Our Instagram's kind of lame. We don't have too much going on there in terms of followers, but Facebook and X get pretty good sometimes. So check those out. Give us a like and a follow. It's always appreciated. And yeah, that's kind of how we do it. So appreciate it again for watching, guys. It's always fun. It's always real. My name is Matthew Tyler. And until next time, hope you have a good night. Peace out.
Go hard, go home, go home, go hard, go hard, go home, go hard, go hard, go home, go hard, go hard, go home, touchdown like an end zone. When the circle turn to my home, can't get me out of my zone. Go hard.